Today, I'm going to show you how to use half square triangles when choosing your fabrics. Keep watching. Hi, it's Fran Morgan with Fabric Cafe, and I'm your fabric matchmaker. Today on our episode, we are going to be talking about matching fabric and how to use the half square triangle with that. We've got some great examples and some fabulous participants that have sent us some great fabric swatches. So let's jump in and see our first swatch. Now, our very first fabric swatch was sent in by Renne, and she sent in this darling nursery rhyme fabric. And I just love the colors in it with the browns and the golds and the greens and the blue background with the stars. It's so much fun. So let's read Rennee's story and see what she says about this fabric. Renne says, "A friend gave me this material when she found out I was quilting. She had bought it 25 years ago when she was pregnant with her son to make a quilt for him, but never did. Her son is now married and had a new baby on February 14th. I want to make this baby a quilt out of the material that was bought for his daddy. The mother of the new baby likes vintage decor, which will fit in with this piece of material. Thanks so much for your help. Signed, Renne." Renne, I think I've got something great for you here. So let's start out by looking at the pattern we've chosen. So I have chosen County Fair for your fabric. And what's really great about County Fair is we've got a nice size block here that's going to show off your nursery rhyme fabric. And then we have these fun pinwheels here and a little box in a box. And I think that these pinwheels are going to add so much movement and playfulness to the finished quilt that you'll see what I mean in just a minute. So let's check out the fabric we've chosen to go with your nursery rhyme fabric. Okay, so we have something great here. So we have got the nursery rhyme fabric, Renne, that we're going to be using in the number one position of the pattern. And of course, the number one position is this nice big block here. It is also going to be going in the center of the square block, like here, and I think there's another example down here, so that you can see it'll be highlighted well, and it's a nice big block so that the little cute designs on the nursery rhyme is really going to show up. Now, I have paired it with two other fabrics here. For our number two, I have got a nice white. It's a nice soft white with kind of a gray beige dot, which I think looks great with your cows and some of the gray tones in your fabric. That is going to be the number two fabric. That is everywhere this gold is. Then the number three fabric that I have chosen here is also a dot. It's a little bit bigger, but it's not a true yellow, but not a true beige. It's a really nice soft gold. And once again, you can see how well it picks up the tones in your characters on your number one fabric. That is going to go everywhere the blue is here. So it's going to look just great. Now, sometimes when you're using two simple coordinating fabrics, like I have here with your fabric, we've added the interest by putting the two simple fabrics in the pinwheel here. And what that does is it gives it interest and movement, even though the fabric itself doesn't have a lot going on. So we're going to focus on your fabric in the big block, and then the pinwheels are going to add some nice movement and playfulness, and these will help show it off very well. Now, we have a great image on the screen for you so that you can see exactly how that looks. And I think that you'll see that the nursery rhyme fabric is really gorgeous in those bigger blocks, and then the playfulness of the pinwheels kind of dancing across the quilt looks just amazing and so great. For participating today, Renne, I appreciate it so very much. We are going to send you the County Fair pattern. That pattern is in our book, Easy Does It 3-Yard Quilts. And I'm also going to be sending you a 1-yard cut of our number two fabric and our number three fabric. So I hope it turns out great. I would love to see the quilt once you finished it up for the gift for the baby. I think it's just going to turn out wonderful. Now let me set these aside, and I have got some great additional things for everyone else. I think this is just so sweet, and it has the same coloring as the nursery rhyme fabric with these cute little ducklings on here and the little vines. It's a very nice soft fabric that's going to look great in our #1 position here on the quilt. And then we have paired it with the same #2 and 3 fabric. And as you can see, the focus fabric here has those same kind of soft gold, almost a beige color that coordinates so well with the focus fabric. So I think it just looks great. Now we do have that image on the screen, and you can see that even though the fabrics are all very kind of that same muted tone, which is just soft and sweet, and then our 2 simple coordinating prints make that pinwheel that gives it so much interest. Now the fabric itself is not particularly exciting alone, but it's the perfect match, and the pattern selection of that half square triangle block in there gives it so much fun on the surface. Now this kit information, the kit is called Bedtime Story. The number is 8022438. The pattern is County Fair from the Easy Does It book, and it is not available as an individual, so we are suggesting the alternate pattern as Pinwheel +1. Now our second participant sent me in a fabulous fabric that I was just absolutely in love with whenever I saw it. It is this beautiful fabric here with the malls on it, and there's a little bit of gold on this fabric, which I just think is great. And I love how the winged creatures here go both directions. I just love that. Let's hear her story and see what we're working with here. Now Cheryle sent us this fabric, and she writes, in 1969, I took a sewing class in home economics and made a gym bag and skirt. I enjoyed the class. However, that was the extent of my sewing. Fast forward. I took a quilting class this year and I'm hooked. I never knew quilting could be relaxing, fun, and rewarding. It has challenges too, which brings me to this fabric. I saw it, loved it, and had to have it. Now I'm challenged with finding fabrics that complement it. Do I use another directional fabric, solids, batiks, or florals? As a novice, I just don't know. With your expertise, I know you'll make this fabric the star of the show. I mean quilt. Thank you kindly. Well, Cheryle, great. I think we have something wonderful for you. Let's start with looking at the pattern. Now, I have chosen the Time Machine pattern for your quilt because I think it's going to do a couple of things. What we have here is a nice size block here and here that will show off the moths wonderfully. And actually the moths go both directions. I know it's a directional, but it's going to go both directions, so it's going to be perfect. Now our #3 fabric are these triangles here, and of course that's usually our darkest fabric, and that's going to frame your fabric perfectly. So let's lay this up on the table, look at the fabric we've chosen, talk about this pattern a little bit more. Okay, so Cheryle, I have put some great fabric together. We have your beautiful moth fabric here with that little bit of metallic, which I love. And as I mentioned just a moment ago, this is all going to go in this larger block here. Then I have picked this great peach fabric. Now, I really liked this fabric with it because I actually thought this kind of mimicked moth wings a little bit. So it kind of gives you some great movement within the fabric. That is going to go everywhere you see the light purple and on the border here. And then our #3 fabric is this black. Now, I really liked the black with this fabric. It has a little bit of gold, but it's also dark enough that it picks up some of the darker tones in your malls, which if you've seen some of our other episodes, you'll see how I love to balance my blacks. So this is one of the ways I did it in your quilt. Now this gorgeous black with the metallic floral is going to go everywhere your triangle is here. So what this does is it creates kind of that diamond frame around your moth fabric that's really going to highlight it and make it super special in your quilt. And it will indeed be the star of your quilt. You can see exactly what I'm talking about, how the black triangles, half square triangles, frame that center square and how it just brings out the blacks and balances it so perfectly. And of course, the orange #2 fabric is that perfect companion to the orange in the wings of the moth. So I just think it turned out gorgeous. Now the pattern that we used here is Time Machine, and that is available in our Easy Does It 3-yard quilt book. And we are going to be sending you the book, Cheryle, that has the pattern, as well as the number 2 fabric and the number 3 fabric for participating today. We really, really appreciate that. All right, now, got something great for the rest of you as well. A very similar moth fabric here, just in a little bit different colorway. So these were great because they also have kind of a little bit of dark on the wing here, but it has a blue background on it instead of the peach. So I was able to find a similar fabric that has a lot of movement, but it picks up that blue perfectly. So we've got our moths going in the block here, same place that Cheryle's did. Our number 2 fabric will go in the background, and then our number 3 fabric, which is the same black with the gorgeous metallic, will be framing the square here, giving this that frame on point, that diamond, which is so, so, so great. And you can see just how stunning that looks in this fabric combination. So I think both quilts will end up being just spectacular. Now I want to take just a moment and show you how easy half square triangles are to include in your patterns, because they do add so much movement. Now I have our pattern here for our time machine quilt, and in this pattern we're going to be cutting 4.5-inch squares for a 1/2-inch triangle, and we're going to be trimming them down to 4. So I have some squares cut here, so let me get that. And as you can see, here's our 4.5-inch square. Now the first thing, and I have 2. I have one from my number 2 fabric, one from my number 3 fabric. I'm going to take the lightest of the 2 and use it, and I'm going to mark a line from corner to corner. And I just kind of eyeball this, use a water-soluble marker, just mark that line across. And then I'm going to place them right sides together, matching up the corners, and I'm going to sew a scant 1/4 inch on each side of this line. Now I do have an example here, and hopefully you can see it. I failed to use a darker thread, but I think you'll be able to see that scant 1/4 inch on each side of this line. Now what I'm going to do is cut on the line. This is a very, very simple process. And I think that anyone that has not tried half square triangles or is not real comfortable with it, if you'll do a few, you'll get your skill level up, and you'll find that they're really a lot of fun and very easy. So I've cut right on the line, and now I'm going to use my really handy dandy slotted trimmer. Now, I love using this tool for my half square triangles because it makes it so easy. So in our case, we had a 4.5-inch square that were cut, and we're going to make 4-inch half square triangles. And as you can see, there's little measurements on your ruler. We're going to place the dotted line of the measurement that we need, and we need 4. You can see there's a dotted line right there, and you can see what that does is it gives that just a little bit of trim space there. So I can trim this side, I'm going to trim this side, and that's going to be perfect. Now what's really cool about this tool is it has these little slots right here at the 4-inch too. So I'm going to take my rotary cutter and carefully go into here and carefully go into that slot. And what that does is it cuts my little dog ears off. And so when it's done, it's a perfect half square triangle and already trimmed up. So at this point, all I do is press this open and we're good to go. It's a very simple process. They add so much movement and fun to your quilts that I think you'll love it. Now what we have here as well, I'll clear this off in just a moment, is I've made 4 of the squares, so we'll be able to just put 4 together, and you can see how simple this square goes together. Let's see, let's do it right. So there's my number 3, it will go there. It will go here. Now, these do have the seam allowances on them. And then this one is here, and this one goes just like that. And what this does is you'll do it again on this block, and it'll frame that center block just perfectly. So I think this is going to be gorgeous, and as you saw from that image, it is. Now, Let's set all of our little steps aside here and let's look at that fabric kit information. Kit number on this kit is 8022439. It is called Transformation, and it is the time machine pattern from the Easy Does It book. That's only available in the Easy Does It book, so we are suggesting the Friendship Star as your alternate pattern. Now we have one more great participant today, but before we go there, I just want to mention that if you would like to participate in Matchmaker, if you just visit our website at fabriccafe.com, go to the free goodies tab and pull up the Matchmaker submission form. Just fill that out and send us your fabric swatch, and we will do our very best to get it included on a future episode. So very, very simple to do. So let's get into our last participant today. This fabric comes from Sarah, and this is such a gorgeous fabric with all of these words on it. We have hope and faith and love and friendship. Just such a fun fabric that let's see what the story is on this one. Sarah writes, I love the fabric, but I'm not sure what pattern or other fabric would go with it. I'm also not sure if I'm giving it to a friend or donating it to charity. I like donating to Candy's Place, which is a cancer wellness nonprofit. I just really like this fabric, so maybe I will make 2 quilts. I have all the 3-yard quilt books in print as well as the download of Quilts for Kids. They are awesome. She signs Sarah. Well, Sarah, we've got something great for you today. Let's start out by looking at that pattern that we've chosen. Now we have chosen Heartland for your pattern here, and I think this is really great, and we've done a little twist on your fabric today, so we'll get into that in just a minute, but we have just a great nice little box here with a beautiful place for a focus fabric, and then once again we have our half square triangles, which adds so much interest to the pattern itself. So let's check out the fabric we've chosen. Now Sarah, I have put with it a couple of very interesting suggestions here that I think turned out gorgeous. Now let me just mention first before we start, I have chosen to use your fabric in the number 2 position, and the reason why I did that is because it is the lightest. So I'm just going to kind of put it in here in this number 2 position here, and I also felt like it really was the subtle message in the quilt. And I know that whenever you're on the couch and you're curled up with the quilt, if you're like me, you tend to really look at the fabric and all the little designs. And when someone does this and cuddles up with this quilt, they're going to see all of those very positive messages reminding them. And I just love that. So what we've done is we've chosen this beautiful blue fabric with the floral on it as the number 1, as your focus fabric. That is going to go everywhere you see the larger square here and on the border. And as you can see, it coordinates so very, very well with yours. It's got those same kind of beige grays in it, and it looks just wonderful. Now your fabric is going to go everywhere the lighter fabric is on the quilt here. And like I said, it's just going to peek through and give that wonderful positive message. Now our number 3 fabric is this very nice, it's kind of a gray color, and you can see how beautifully our focus fabric goes with it, as well as your number 2 fabric. Now the 3 fabric is going to go here in the triangles and in the center square here, as well as border your focus fabric. And it really did turn out beautiful. If you can see the image on the screen there, you can see how wonderfully balanced it is and how great that your message pops through whenever you see the quilt. It's very subtle, but I think it's really nice, and it helps us all remember all of those positive things. So for participating today, Sarah, I am going to be sending you the Heartland pattern here. It is in the book Pretty Darn Quick 3-Yard Quilts. So you will receive the book as well as the number 1 fabric as your focus and your number 3 fabric here. So we really, really appreciate it. I'd love to see how that turned out. And if you do make 2, maybe 1 for charity and 1 for yourself. I think that would be great. Now let's see what we have for everyone else. So for everyone else, we have something equally as wonderful. And I was so excited actually whenever I saw that I could find a very similar number 2 fabric. So we're going to show you that here. But first, of course, we have the same beautiful blue floral as our focus. And once again, that does go in your main block and on your border. And then look at this number 2 fabric. Is this not great? We have all of the words hallelujah on here, just to remind us to be joyful, keep us in that great positive frame of mind. That number 2 will go everywhere. The white is here in the background. And then we have our same number 3, which of course is going in our triangles and coordinates so well with our focus as well as our hallelujah fabric. I just think these turned out great, and I just love that little subtle message that pops through on the quilt. I think it's really a positive reminder, and I think once again we have kind of that subtle fabric in our 2 and 3, and how the half square triangle blocks really help give it the interest that it needs, because the fabrics are rather simple. So we've got that great extra oomph from the half square triangle. Now the kit information on this one is 8022440. It is called Hallelujah, and the quilt is the Heartland pattern from Pretty Darn Quick. Great time today. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you choose your next pattern with a half square triangle and try out that slotted trimmer. Appreciate it so much. Have a great week.